on. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Jordan. My name is Megan Kerr, and I am the Board of Education member that has the great fortune of representing the North Long Beach community and all of our kids. They're all of our kids, we say that, but really special to represent North Long Beach, especially this beautiful, evolving campus over the last couple of years. As you may or may not know, the Board of Education has 3 jobs primarily. It is to set overall policy for a district, it is to make budget recommendations and approve a budget, and it is to hire, supervise, and evaluate the superintendent. And so this district has not gone through this process in 19 years. And so my entire tenure as a parent in this district, save the first year of kindergarten, has been under our current superintendent's administration. And through his leadership, along with the leadership of the Board of Education over the last 18 years, we are grateful to be in a fiscally healthy place, to have incredible staff, many of whom I see in this room, and have been working hard to support student success for this last generation. So here we are tonight to all be new to a process of how do we say what's next for LBUSD? What are those things that we value? And as we move forward, what are those qualities that we want to see in our leadership? So we've asked you to come here tonight, and we've asked the community to gather not only in parent groups or parent forums or specialized groups in the district, but as community, as neighbors, as people who interact with our students all the time, outside on the street, at the new Starbucks across the way. We all have a say, because we know the backbone of a thriving community is really an excellent education system. And we're really fortunate in Long Beach to have that from cradle to career, as we like to say. So I want to thank you for coming out and remind you that, as always, we're here to do what's in the best interest of students. Sometimes that's not always what's the most convenient for adults, but we know at the end of the day for student success that we have to put students at the forefront of our work. So tonight we want to hear from you. We want to talk about attributes, especially that you want to see. What are those core values you hold that you want this next superintendent to have, as well as the opportunity to share some of what you feel our successes have been and some dreams for the future and some things that we can move forward on a little bit. So tonight our facilitator will be Ruth Ashley, our Deputy Superintendent of Education Services, and she's going to lead you through the process, and I'll come up at the end. But just to remember that this is really an interactive process. We're going to ask you at some point to talk to your neighbors, so please feel free to move the chairs and get close so that we can really do this work as a community, not just like this back and forth way. So I will turn it over to Ruth. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr, for that gracious welcome. And I always have to start with a place of gratitude. Coming from a place of gratitude, I first want to thank the Jordan staff for having us. I see a couple of you here in the audience, so thank you for welcoming us here tonight. I also want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules. I know it's a commitment to just make that time, set that time aside and to be here tonight. And before we get into the agenda, I also want to pay tribute to our superintendent, because before, like I said, we get into this process of giving feedback, it seems only fitting that we thank Mr. Steinhauser, and we pay tribute to his 38 years. And it's not just the 38 years, you have to remember that he was a student here as well. So you added that all up together, and that's 51 years, so that's pretty remarkable. So if you take a look at your agenda, you'll see the outcomes for this evening. And there's 4 in particular. And that first one is to create an appreciative environment for gathering of this community. So again, thank you for being here. To provide an overview of the superintendent selection process, to gather feedback from the community regarding the desired characteristics of a superintendent. You see we have our chart paper here, so we're going to capture those notes and capture your comments. And to gather feedback on the district's strengths, areas of improvement, and issues to address or anticipate in the future. So you will be telling your story as well. We invite you to do that, and it's not just the qualities that we're looking for in our next superintendent. So let's talk about the process and timeline. We already went through the first phase because this process could be laid out in 4 different phases. And that first phase was the planning phase where the board identified the process and approved the timelines. And that happened already in January and ended on February 2nd. We are in phase 2, public outreach and recruitment. So we've already advertised this vacancy to various professional organizations, and we're right in the middle of our community forums, and we'll be ending that on March 9th. That's also the last day that we will be accepting applications for this position. Phase 3 includes the application screening and interviews, and that will go from March 9th to the 24th. And then finally, phase 4 ends with the appointment of our new superintendent on May 6th. We go through that transition planning, and then they take over during the summer. So going back to phase 2, you see the listing of our community forums. So our next one will be Monday, February 24th at Wilson High School. So in addition to all of these sessions, there are 7 of them here, we will be visiting our community members, parents, and staff members in Catalina at Avalon School. Also, during this phase of public outreach, there's the opportunity for folks at home to watch during these live streamed events. They can log on their own device, and we have a YouTube channel that they can log on to. Also, starting next week on February 24th and going through March 6th, we have the opportunity for everyone to go on to the Thought Exchange platform. That's an online platform where you can log in and read what other people are thinking, what other people are commenting on in regards to the characteristics that they would like to see in the next superintendent. You can like, you can comment thereon, you can just post and see what everybody's thinking. And then for any more information that you would like to see, you can go onto the district's website, and the information is there. You can also log on and go to the A through Z index to look what we have under the postings under superintendent selection. Phase 3, we have the advisory committee, and this is the committee that the board approved that will be representing various stakeholder groups throughout the community. We have quite a few listed here, and it makes up of about 23, 24 members. And this is rather important, so I'm going to go ahead and read some of these here so our folks at home can also hear the different stakeholder groups that we're including in this process. So we have ALBUM, or Association of Long Beach Education Managers, who will send 2 representatives. We have the Assistant League of Long Beach, the Board of Education. We have Ms. Kerr and our president, Dr. Felton Williams, who will be present on this advisory committee. We have CCEJ, California Conference for Equity and Justice, Cal State Long Beach, Californians for Justice. CSEA will send 2 representatives. We have the Coalition of Involved African American Parents, who will be there, District Community Advisory Committee. We have the District English Learner Advisory Committee. We have 2 executive staff members who will be joining us. We have a rep from the Kamai Parents Association, our Long Beach Council PTA, the NAACP, our Pacific Islander Education Voyage. They will have a representative. Special Education Community Advisory Committee, Teachers Association of Long Beach, they'll have 2 representatives who will be there. And the LGBTQ Center of Long Beach will also have a representative. And the main goal for having an advisory committee is so that they can be a part of this process. They can also be witness to the first few rounds of interviews, and they will then give their recommendation on the semifinalists to our Board of Education. But as Ms. Kerr said, it is the board's job to do the hiring and to vet these candidates. So the advisory committee definitely have a key role. So attached to your handout, you have the Superintendent Governance Standards. There are 11 of these standards that were developed by the California Boards Association. And if you just go down that list, and if you have a pen, go ahead and highlight, circle the words or phrases that really resonate with you. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. And once you do that, I would like to invite you to have a conversation with the person you're sitting next to. Feel free to get up, move around, and have a conversation about the qualities that you're looking for in our next superintendent. You've also been given note cards, so you can use that to write down your ideas, your thoughts. And if you want to turn those into us, you can just turn them into any one of our staff members here. We have Kateria Hernandez, Ms. Dalton up front. We have Mr. Itzen in the back, Mr. Zaid's here as well, and of course, Mr. Steinhauser's in the back. And you can give it to me or Ms. Kerr, any one of us, and we'll take those. Okay, so go ahead and read through that list, and I'll come back in a moment. 2 minutes. Okay, go ahead and finish up your conversations if you would. And thank the group you're talking with. So this is how this works. I'm going to invite you to come up to the microphone, and you're going to speak to the group. We have Ms. Hernandez, Ms. Dalton, who will be taking notes, and we want for you to not just answer the essential question, which is, what are the leadership qualities that you would like to see in our next superintendent of schools, but we'll also be listening for what strengths are a part of Long Beach Unified, what are the areas of improvement that we need to focus on. Of course, we have the qualities over here, and then what are some of the issues that we should anticipate or address in the future. So those are the things that we'll be listening for, okay? So I'm going to ask for you to be courageous, and I'm going to ask who would like to start us off tonight. We don't have a time limit, but if I feel that you're rambling, I may put up the orange folder. Come on up. Yes, and please be sure to introduce yourself to the group.
I don't know if courageous so much as I have the youngest children here, so we have to go to bed. My name is Maricela de Rivera. I live here in the Houghton Park neighborhood, and my daughter is, well, I only have one in school right now, and she's at Patrick Henry in the 3rd grade. So we are just starting out at a wonderful school. And when I think about our wonderful school, and she wants to come to Jordan, she can't wait, she's really excited. I think about the inequity of Long Beach, and I think about the fact that the only school of choice that we did was for Patrick Henry, and it was because of dual immersion. We would have gone to our neighborhood school. But the inequity that I see as a parent at Patrick Henry, which of course nobody at Patrick Henry wants to talk about because they are benefiting, is obvious and gross and everywhere. Measure B is something that's really important to me, and I hope it passes because arts education is critical. My daughter is a natural scientist, and that part of her brain that is stimulated because she's learning violin for free at Patrick Henry, and she gets art every month because the PTA raised over $100,000 a year, and those kinds of things are really important, and they make Patrick Henry the wonderful place that it is, and Grant doesn't have those. And that's where my kid would be. And what is it? I blanked. The school where she would have started at 4th and Junipero before we moved to the north, to the 9th district. Didn't have those either. Burbank, thank you, consistently. And so I know that there are good and caring teachers. I genuinely believe that. I know the principal at Grant, and I think she's fantastic. I've met teachers there. I know the parents who go there. The kids are our neighbors. I think it's a really, really strong and beautiful community here in North Long Beach. But what I find is that when PTAs are allowed to raise $100,000 and keep it at their school, we have a real problem with inequity. And then the school funds that are spent by the district I'm not saying I want you to take away violin from my kid, but also it's not fair that she has violin because her education at Patrick Henry is already better. And so when I think about our strengths, we're diverse. The campus is diverse, it's beautiful, they're focused on our culture and our history, and I hope that other schools are like that too. But when I think about the strengths, I think about really making sure that West, North, and Central Long Beach get the same opportunities, that my kid gets at Patrick Henry. It's just not okay. I also look, as a queer woman myself, that at the elementary age, we are not ensuring that there is proper education and fairness when we're teaching kids, and we teach them every single day about gender, and anybody who doesn't think so doesn't really understand what gender identity is. Every single time there's a mom and a dad in a book, you've taught gender, and you've normalized heterosexuality and cisgender worlds and lives, and that doesn't reflect my family. And it starts from 3 years old. 3 years old, children know gender. And so when we ignore that and say, well, we don't teach gender at that young, we do. The 5th grade, maybe it's 4th, but I think it's the 5th grade video, I've watched it, that the Patrick Henry kids watch. My child will miss that day. She will not watch that because it tells girls, you're gonna start wanting to put on makeup and shave your legs. I don't, her mom doesn't. So that's not accurate. That's not biologically accurate. It's not societally accurate. It's just this weird video from the 80s that I don't really get. So when I think about going forward, I think about making sure, one, that things are equitable from east and south to the rest of Long Beach. And I think also about making sure that Long Beach really reflects those of us who are transgender or love transgender people, who are in the LGBTQ community in some other fashion. Our families look different, and we're doing a real disservice to the kids who don't understand that we're just people who walk to the library and read books like everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Marisela. Anyone else? Come on up. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Delene Booth, and I've been around, Chris, I was there when they elected you. I was there at your breakfast. I mean, I've done this before. Thank you, Chris. Well done. Okay, well played. Anyways, most of you know I'm a Native American. Yep. And so as being a Native American means that I am protector of the land. That's kind of our sworn duty, just in our upbringing. Now, my concerns are that what are we teaching our children about just green power? I mean, I've gone all over the country and I've seen these great big beautiful parking structures with the solar panels, and and they have all these great big giant windmills. I don't think we could have a windmill out here, but I'm just wondering what our future looks like as far as like our electricity, going into a green type of environment and teaching this to our children. How important is this? How do we ever tell our children in the morning, hey, let's keep it cool with that water because we don't have that much water. I mean, we live in a desert and we have lawns. So I just don't know if we're teaching our kids how to be environmentally sound, to protect the land, to be protectors of the land as well. I think this is something that we need to teach our children when they are young, to be protectors of the land. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delene. Anyone else? Another passionate speaker. Come on up.
So I'm a teacher here at Jordan, and because I'm a teacher, I'm gonna have to go straight through this list as you've given it to me, so. All right, so what are the qualities that I would like to see in our next superintendent of schools? Well, first of all, I would like to thank the board for opening the position to applicants outside of our district. I really believe that a closed system is not the healthiest system, and we need perspective from outside. I am not a native to Long Beach. I came here via Montana and then through Arizona, and it always amazes me the way people in Long Beach know each other since forever, in ways that I grew up in small towns and we didn't know each other that well. Again, I'd like to see a little more variety, at least, you know, somebody's perspective who's been in other districts and has some understanding of that. What I think our district's strengths are our fiscal conservative got us through that 2008 recession with a minimum amount of pain. It was not pleasant, but at the same time, I did not see as many of my friends here in Long Beach losing their jobs as I saw friends who'd gone to work for LA Unified and in Orange County who lost their jobs. So definitely our fiscal stability. Also the fact that we invest so much money into professional development for our teachers and our staff. I think that Long Beach does that better than anybody I've ever talked to that works outside of Long Beach. As far as what I think we need to improve on, and that is very linked to what I think our issues are to address or anticipate for the future. And for that, all school sites are very unique and need to be seen that way. One size does not fit all. What works and is beneficial for one campus may actually be detrimental to another one. And I really wish that it sometimes feels like the district invites they invite us to come and talk about our campus, but it doesn't always feel like we're listened to. It sometimes feels like, it's like, well, this works at this school, so it'll work at all the other schools. So sometimes I feel like an understanding of how unique our campuses are is something that we need the district to understand better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. Hi, good to see you. Yeah. So tell us your name.
Okay, I got it. Hi, I'm Garcia. I presently have a child at Willard Elementary, and that's why I was talking with her about how our children are at dual immersion schools, but there's not one here in North Long Beach, which I would prefer to not have to drive so far, but it is what it is, you know. But I don't mind. I love the school. But the one, what are the qualities you actually see? Though, even though I hear what my fellow teachers said about how it's good to open up the district, but I am a Long Beach bred person. And I understand we need perspectives. I really do. But the one thing in my heart and a lot of the hearts of many that I have spoken to, we are Long Beach bred. And we would prefer for our superintendent to be a Long Beach bred person, open-minded, what have you, but come from Long Beach, know about the Long Beach systems, have went through the systems with us. Because one thing about Long Beach is we're passionate about Long Beach. We understand there's other things going on. I love that. I love LA. I love Compton. But my favorite is Long Beach. So I understand, but I kind of disagree. But I do understand. And I think the strength of Long Beach is that we always take care of each other. Even though there is disservice and inequalities of the different districts, we do try to make an effort. And I think the start for a lot of it is our parent training. Because oftentimes we only give training like as an overall whole and not as empowering the parents. And we have to start younger, not necessarily just here in high school. Because by high school, a lot of the parents are like, I'm done with this kid, I'm done. But if we started when they were in elementary and we had the same passion that we're trying to have for these parents here in high school, and we have that passion for those parents in elementary, and then we carried it on to middle school, it would make a difference. And not just having the parent university, because unfortunately, I've tried the parent university, I've went on the thing, and it's not as interactive because I have a short attention span. Might not know this, but I kind of do. So I think empowering the parents, because if you empower the parents, then you can empower the kids that we work for. And unfortunately, we're all here to service and work for the kids. And we want what's best for them, not just to help us. Because if they're made whole, we actually will be shining even brighter. And they are our future, and they come from Long Beach. So, you know. The areas of improvement for the district, I think, is probably, like I said, enriching our parents and not penalizing us for not reaching our benchmarks. I understand and trying to work with the schools that don't reach their benchmarks. Like here at this school, I went to the LCAP meeting and I was very disappointed that a lot of our benchmarks were not met. But I think working with the school and understanding why and really investing in the why and not just looking at the overall problem. Because this is a wonderful school, and I get passionate about this school because a lot of people say Jordan is not good, but that's not true. You actually have to come on this campus and see the passion of our principal. She doesn't even sit in her office. She's running around the whole campus. So it's just a lot going on, and she has a lot of good support, but we have to also work on our kids. And unfortunately, we're not able to work on our kids because we don't deal with the elephant in the room, and that's their parents. We try to, but we can only do so much, and we don't need to start when they're right now. We need to start when they're younger, so the parents know what to do. We have that, and the parents grow and have the same passion that we all have grown to love about Long Beach, and we oftentimes forget. A lot of parents never went to school. They never went through this whole, they might have been in high school, got a baby, and forgot everything else because they're worried about the money. And like in this area, oftentimes parents don't come to stuff, and you think the parents don't care, but they do. It's just, they need money. That's their main problem. And it's different from the other sides because they're not in dire straits of money and feeding their families and doing all of that. Or the kids are displaced. They're somewhere else. They might be living in the park. So our issues is not the same as somebody else, and nobody knows that unless you come in this area and not just come to visit for a day or come for a couple hours. You actually have to be here. And you listen to the people that are actually at the schools and not just coming just for a tour. And that's what I do like about our board member, Megan Kerr. She actually comes and visits with us more than just one day, a semester, or something like that. And that's what we need our superintendent to be, to actually visit the schools and really know the schools that he is servicing. Our superintendent now, if you ask him any question about any school, even if it's bad, he can tell you what's going on at all the schools. And we need that type of person, that when they come in, they know the schools. You don't just, that's why if you come from out of this district, you won't know the schools. You have to know your areas. Granted, he can't do everything because he can't save everyone, but he at least tries. And he's put people in place to service that area. That's why even though Jordan has its issues, we have our captain. Our captain is our principal. That's why you have to put the principals at the schools that can service that population. And I think oftentimes we just put in whoever, but we actually need to have a good superintendent, have a good board. Then we would have good principals, assistant principals, and teachers. Because the principal actually picks almost all the teachers here at the school. So we need to look at that. Let me see. Oh, I did. I said what we anticipate. Because the superintendent will pick everybody else, and the principals need to be held to high regards because they're almost like the superintendent of the school. They're governing this whole place, and especially this school. It's so huge. And she even goes back and goes to Hamilton and Lindbergh because unfortunately well, not unfortunately, but fortunately, those kids come here. And if you look and you go to like Lindsay, that school, the kids be off the hook. So then when they come here, what are they? Off the hook. Because why? We did not invest in our parents. We did not train them. We did not empower our parents to even know, why do we need to help our kids? Why do your kids need to sit in that chair and not run all around the state? Like, we need to allow them to know what are the benchmarks of the kids, what is the importance. Why, when the kid gets in high school, why does a kid need to be on track? I was talking to Miss Banks today, and she was talking about how in middle school they don't know A through G. We need to get that ready, not just put it in the little thing that I went to the workshops, and they have that packet, the high school readiness guide. Is that what it's called, right? But unfortunately, it's not disseminated to a lot of the schools like they're supposed to be. And it's just given to certain kids, but we actually need to train them. When we do orientations at high school, have the A through G right there. Go through every little thing with them. Like, everything needs to be laid out and not assuming that we know, not anything. We just need to keep telling them and telling them and telling them. Because once you know, and you're empowered. And that's why a lot of people are surprised that I'm here all the time, but that's because I've been in school. I know what to do. But if I didn't know, I'd just be another parent that just is here. But that's a disservice, because that's why I'm here to speak for those that don't know what to complain about. Right, constructive criticism, that's correct. Because I will give that all day. I will just walk in your office, she would tell you, I will walk in your office and I say, look, I understand we're doing a good thing, but we need a lot more improvement. And that's what we need, is a superintendent that's willing to have that open door, and that's willing to listen to all of our complaints, no matter how big, how small, how whatever. And he has all these other people, our assistant superintendents, and like Jay is over high schools, and he's actually here. He was here today, going around. And we need people like that. And he's from Long Beach, so just saying. Just saying, not saying we need him, you know, that's my little 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love how everyone is speaking from the heart. But I have a feeling we're not done. Who else? Come on up.
Good evening. I have taught at Jordan, the airplane, Lindbergh, Lindsay. So needless to say, I'm winding down too. And I would just like for the next superintendent to bring in new ideas and new things, but I would like for the school district to go back and focus on the basics. The basics. In addition to bringing everything else in, the basic: character, health, and literacy. Those are the basics that we need to emphasize with these young people so that they can be responsible and be marketable in the real world. And I'm going to give you 2 different scenarios that I'm with my students. I'm at EPHS, Independent Study, and on Cedar, Cedar and PCH. And so I have this young man that the students love to work, and that's good. And I said, that's a good thing. However, your priority is earning a diploma, okay? And so this one young man got a job in Downey. It's a movie theater and it's a restaurant. So when he got the job, when he came for orientation, I told the mom, I said, now Mom, you're going to have to be really strict on him. And even if in order for him to keep that job, he must get the minimum of 2 classes per month. I said, and if he doesn't do that, then he needs to focus more on his work. So and I told him, I said, and I want you at that job 30 minutes before it's time to go to work. So he looked at me. I said, 30 minutes. I said, because if you are there 30 minutes, starting out with this 30 minutes before each and every day, I said, before the time that you clock in, then that person knows, that your employer knows that you are there to work and that you're a serious, responsible person. So anyway, I said, and I want you to open up a checking account and you're gonna save some of your money, okay? So anyway, so he was working for a while and he said everything was just good. Then he saw, because every week I said, how's it going? Good, good. And then we got the paycheck really good. So he started complaining, well, when I finish what I'm supposed to do, sometimes the manager tells me to do something else. I said, well, that's good. I said, and I'm sure you do it with a smile. And then he said, no, I'll go in the theater and watch a movie. And I said, wait, he said, well, no, I've done everything, I've done my job. I said, you go in the theater and watch a movie? I said, did you clock out? No. Whoa. I said, so wait a minute, you are the owner of this company is going to pay you to watch a movie on his time while you're supposed to be working? And well, they got a lot of money. They got some stores in Texas. I said, well, they won't have it for long with employees like you. And again, he could not, and so then he becomes complain about his supervisor. He complained about the manager. The manager is over his supervisor. So I said, listen, let's connect the dots here. He said, my supervisor didn't say this. Sometimes he said it's okay. Sometimes if I finish what I have to do, I can go into the theater. But again, I said, that's just not real. Just sit down and let's weigh this thing out. But again, this is basic information that in your mind you think if you are told something to do and if you finish that early, it is okay to go into the movie theater and watch a movie and you're still on the clock. So again, this is basic integrity and basic information and not seeing, then he started whining about the person talking to him, how they talk to them and yelling at them. And we all know sometimes when they say you're yelling at them and you could be across the room and just talking on a normal voice, but they have to build that in, yelling. And so my point to him is that whatever you do, even if you own your own business, you're going to have to listen to someone else, and you're going to have guidelines if you're planning on remaining in business. So those are basic things, personal development, basic things that character. And when we have character, self-respect, and tolerance, and if you have self-respect, it's not going to be an issue for you to tolerate anyone that is different from you. We don't all think alike, sing alike, say alike, and it's okay, and we don't all have to agree, but we have enough self-respect to know that someone might differ from an opinion of mine, and that's okay. And health, and I have a real issue with about students that cannot validate a contract, meaning they cannot print their name. They cannot write their name in cursive to validate a contract. They can only print their name. And so on this contract at the school, I said, I'm getting out the dots, I'm bringing the paper, because and then I go over and explain to them what that is all about. So that's what I mean when I say going back to basics. When it says signature, it's there for a reason. It's there for a purpose. And technology is fine. Love it. Has a lot of positive, even though most of our kids have gotten addicted to it, which is not fine. You still need to know the basics and be able to read cursive writing, and be able to sign your name. About a year ago, on, I think it was Memorial Day, was at this barbecue place, and this young man was behind the counter, and a man from, taking the order, and a man was from Indiana, he and his family. So his family had written a note in cursive for what they wanted to have for dinner. So he gave the young man the note, and so he was just standing there. I said, "What's wrong?" I was behind the guy. I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I can't read this." I said, "Let me see." And he showed it to me. It was in cursive. And then I said, "Well, ask him. Ask him what it." He said, "He can't read it either." I said, "Oh my goodness, yes, I bet he can." So, ask him. But again, this is what we are producing and not teaching them the basics. And then let's go to health. The basic information that keeps all of us alive and well, like the 6 nutrients and how our bodies are nourished from these 6 nutrients, and how if we don't meet those basic requirements, we can't do anything else. So that's the standpoint that I bring it to the students with. So this young lady's father was a diabetic, and so he had been going in, and he had been having some problems. So I told her, I said, "Now, okay," I said, you're going to have to change some of those, you're going to change your lifestyle." So we were talking and going in there and going over some things that they were going to have to do and what was probably going to happen. Well, then once her father, I forgot what happened anyway, but he was in the hospital. I think it's when you become unconscious or whatever. But anyway, they talked to the doctor, because she was the translator, so they talked to them and told them about what they were going to have to do. And she said, she came back and she said, "That's what you had said. That's what you had said." And I said, "Now, I said, also, I think health, you should take health, psychology, economics, and home economics from 1st grade through 12th. Number 1, again, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And then you can receive everything else is a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake. When you are able to communicate and don't get frustrated and make yourself a victim and call other people's names for whatever, because you are frustrated about something basically that is your responsibility. Your responsibility. And so, and attendance is important. I explain to them all the time, if you're not going to be here at the time, then you call or you let me know on that day. I say, and if it's an emergency, let me define what emergency in my little world. You lose body parts, an ear, a toe, just something written, you can't find your phone or your charger, or something dramatic happened, or you couldn't find your fake nail, just crazy stuff. I said, no, who are you? Do you realize who you're going to be competing with? Other people that are able to read, write, and think. So these are, I just want, I think it's always good to learn to be inclusive about everything, but I don't want to leave the basic, because the basic is going to determine their quality of life in the real world. And that's all.
Thank you for coming up and sharing. Anyone else? Come on up.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. My name is Alan Vandervoort, and I teach biology here at Jordan. And I started teaching in '98, came here in 2004, and I came here for three main reasons. One, my wife teaches in the district, and it's a lot easier to do family stuff when your spouse is a teacher in it too. The second one is that Long Beach supports National Board Certification for teachers, and there's two things that really predict student success. One of them, unfortunately, is the socioeconomic status of their parents. The second one is teacher quality. So everything that's done to improve teacher quality is really important. I've really been impressed with the level of professional development here since I got here. It's been excellent. The third reason is IB at Jordan. IB is an extremely rigorous program. It's known as the gold standard of curriculum worldwide. And to provide it, you really have to learn about it, you have to understand it, and you have to really you have to support it. And if anybody would like to learn more about it, there's a great poster right over there on the wall. And don't worry, if you don't know about it, all the admissions officers at UCLA, Stanford, Yale, they all know about IB. A really positive thing that I really appreciate that the district did when I started to show up at campuses around LA and harass parents and arrest parents and create a real chilling effect across Los Angeles. The board put out a statement and said they wouldn't allow that. And I think to get out there right in front of it and take a leadership role, saying it's not acceptable to put our students in fear for coming to get their education was something that I really appreciated. As far as some improvements, one thing that I would like to see in a new superintendent is the ability to admit mistakes when mistakes are made, and also to correct those mistakes. A lot of times people in leadership roles don't want to admit mistakes because they think they're weak if they admit that. And I really try to work on that myself all the time. And it's really hard, especially when I have to apologize to my wife and correct things, because it seems like that relationship is the toughest to really admit your errors. But I really try to model that for my students, and we really need a superintendent to model that too. Because once they model that, the principals model that, and I've seen a lot of our principals here model that, so we need to continue with that. The other thing is College Board takes, I think, an overemphasized significance on the curriculum through our district. I kind of did a back of the napkin calculation for the SAT exam, and giving it to so many kids, just the fee itself was over $1 million, which, you know, we have a big budget and that might be so significant. But all the time it took all the counselors and all the school staff and the time away from other, curriculum is important. We should really evaluate if that's a smart decision. I appreciate, though, I think the main idea is to really hold our students to a high standard, and I think that is a laudable goal. But there's other ways to do that. There's ACT, there's IB, instead of so many AP exams, and also smarter balance. So we really need to find what really works for the majority of students and not be wedded to one particular, that's one company that has a very outsized influence on our district. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vandervoort. Anyone else? Okay, come on up.
Hello, my name is Christian Revis. I was a former student of Mr. Vandervoort. I went to Jordan here. I graduated recently from the University of California, Irvine. And so just to go off what Mr. Vandervoort was saying, I feel like for a superintendent, they need to be able to look at what's happening outside the district and looking at universities for high school students. So currently, my UC system is being sued by a bunch of school districts because they feel that there is, how would I say, that there is social economics going on between College Board, SATs, ACTs, that students who have the money can afford to get the tutor, to afford to get all those high test scores and ensure that their students are going to UCLA, to going to Stanford, going wherever they want. And unfortunately, for here in Long Beach, we're so diverse. We come from so many backgrounds, and students come from so many different households. And sometimes parents can't afford or not afford to give their student their income to go to college. Even if the student feels that they're independent from their parents, still with FAFSA, they have to put their parents' information unless they get married or they have that they were independent since they were 16. And that's not fair. So currently with that suing of the UC system, it's taking a toll on students who feel that they might not get in because they don't have that SAT score. They don't get in because they don't have that ACT score. And that's not fair. As a student myself who went through that process, I got a decent enough score to get into UCI. What pushed me through was the IB program because I took that prestige into it. Most universities now, like UCI, they're taking into account different ways of studying. They're now doing a bunch of experiments that I was put into classes for, and we were used as guinea pigs to learn about how do students really think. And they want more active learning. They want more involvement. They want more communication from students. They want them to think open-minded. And I feel that the superintendent needs to be able to take that information into consideration when they're trying to help make decisions with the college board or with the Board of Education here in Long Beach, just doing the best they can to make sure that our students have a fighting chance. Because things are changing now. It's not the same anymore. It's becoming something completely new, something completely different, and there's no structured path for that anymore. There's no right way. We have to consider what we did in the past, take what's working now, and put them together to help each and every student, because they're all so different. We are known as Long Beach, one of the most diverse cities in the world, and I take pride in that. And I want to make sure that our students are seen on those campuses. They're seen everywhere, that they say, I come from that little town that grew so big. And in addition to that, I would like to see a superintendent that's transparent. I want them to be able to fully admit what their decision-making process was, what they thought, what they took into consideration. I want them to admit what their motivations are, if they're planning to do something, forward in their lives. Like this is a stepping stone to something else. I want them to be able to say, I plan to do this for so many years, but I do wish to move on. I want them to admit if they're continuing to go here and do the best job they can because they want to be here forever or for however long that is for them, in terms of health or age or whatever. That's what I would like to see in a superintendent. That's what I want to see, not just for them, but for all of Long Beach, for all our board members. I want us to come together, to be collaborative, to do the best we can do, because our students deserve that. We need to show that we can be modern. We did Common Core. Other cities, other states took what they saw in Long Beach Unified as one of the best districts ever seen. I hear that all the time. Long Beach Unified, one of the best school districts there is, and I want to see it continue in that name. I want to see improvements. I want to see modernization. I want to see students go to college, and not just prestigious universities, but also, if so, I want to see the superintendent also take into consideration that students who need to not go to somewhere for 4 years, but maybe to a trade school. I know so many students who they thought that they could go to university and that they were going to make money once they got out, and realized they were in debt. They had so many student loans because they couldn't afford to go there in the first place, but they tried anyways because they thought, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to get a lot of money from it, and then they don't, and they're stuck. And I think that our system here needs to understand that. It's not just about putting them in a four-year university. It's not about putting them in a 6-year. We need to take into consideration that students need to go to trade school. They can go to trade school. They can go and do something and go a different path, because it's not just about one college, one type of system. We need to look at all systems for our students, what benefits them, because once again, we're diverse. We have so many needs, and some of them aren't addressed, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The pride in this room is pretty amazing. It just makes me smile, so thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come up?
Okay, I know I went up before, but I'll do mine anyway. Don't mind me, that's the question. Since I looked at the thing. Hi, I'm Kerr. I was just up here a few minutes ago, but don't mind that. Just think it's all one big blur. Okay, so I noticed that I didn't say the strength of Long Beach because I was like, why is she not, that's not up there. But a strength that I will honestly admit is that the district is willing to come back and help. So like tomorrow we have Chris Itzen coming to give us a social media presentation, and that they're willing to be with us even if they don't have to. It's just a part of what they do, and I appreciate that they're willing to come back and help us. So we need a superintendent that knows that he needs to make sure that people are accountable and that they come back, he or she, yes. Because we don't care if it's a he or she or shim or however it is, because we need to understand our acronyms. I understand. So if I say he, I don't mean he, I mean he, she, him, it, whatever it is, but they have to come from Long Beach. So, or understand the Long Beach way. Because there is such thing as a Long Beach way, and if you don't know, that's because you're not from Long Beach, or that you haven't been in Long Beach long enough. My dear teacher here says she's from all these other places, but she knows the Long Beach way because she's been here for so long. So as long as they know the Long Beach way, we're good. Oh, and also that our school site councils are a viable point, and they're actually doing good for the school. So even though a lot of the schools in the lower income areas might not have the violin program, but you'll be surprised what they do have. Like my son's school, we might not have violin, but with our school site council, we diverted those funds to make a computer program that allows that the kids are allowed access at home, and it has English books and Spanish books, and they can read it, and at the end, they master it, and they take a test, and it helps me as a parent to learn Spanish. So they have different programs. So just because they're but the problem is that parents are not told about these things, or told how to advocate, or know what the disparities that they're facing. So even though they might not have violin, but that might not be the focus of the parent. They would just want to make sure their kid is surviving, and they need to know the importance of school, because we're finding that here at this school, a lot of the kids don't even understand why they're coming to high school. You see them running around school half the time because they don't understand. Why am I here? Am I here because my parent told me to, or am I here because I really want to do something with that? It's a little fly here, sorry. Don't mind the flapping. I'm not good at talking in front of people. I know you don't believe that. I kind of don't either, but we'll go with it. So, and plus, we need to have wood shop and all that other trade schools, even though it's good to have it in college, but we used to have it here at Jordan. When I was here, I actually took wood shop. I didn't know what I was gonna do with that, but it was wonderful because, heck, now I can kind of cut something. I didn't cut off no fingers, no toes, so I did good. We have ceramics, but we don't have auto mechanic. I used to take my little cluck to the auto mechanic, and we can't do that here now because they don't have that. So it would be good if the district funded some of the programs and not put all the stress on the schools. Because like the district kind of insinuated that we should do block schedule, but unfortunately, they didn't take into account that that means teachers have to do more work. So they used to have 5 classes, now they have 6. They have to have more development time, even though they do that, but they need more time. They didn't take into account of all of this, so they should have provided more funding to the schools when they do make radical changes to their system. More than just a couple hours, or like here, they moved the teachers, but they didn't really give them a lot of time to move. They didn't pay them to move, and they just expect them to do it on their free time. No, it would have been good for them to give them extra money, not expected the school to do it, not made the principals the bad person. Just saying. Oh, and understand what's pushing the kid, and that kids sometimes need that extra motivation and not just, like, why are they doing bad? If they're doing bad, why? Understand the why on everything, and we're not really addressing what the whys are, what the needs are, what is causing everything. And in a lot of this area, we don't have the most money. And we're not as, well, we're educated. I can't even say we're not educated. But we don't know what it is. How do you expect me to know what to complain about or what to say is good if I don't even know what is normal? If I don't know what normal is, how do you expect me to say, oh, this is not normal, this is normal? That doesn't make any sense. I should be telling you. I should probably be pushing it down your throat constantly. That's why I'm always at all the principals. I know a lot of you in here because I'm constantly on everybody's throat. That's just me. I can't help it. And know the importance, and that's the one good thing about this district, is that they do allow you to know the books. So a lot of people don't know about the COC. They should, but the district opens it up for all the parents. They put it on the websites. They might not communicate as best as a lot of parents do, but that's why we now have Chris to go over all that for us. He pushes the social media and all this stuff, and he's gonna help us learn how to do this. So, so I think that's a strength, that they do try and open the books, and when we say we have a problem, they at least try to address it. I mean, granted, we have a lot of problems, but they try and take it one by one. And we have the LCAP meeting, the LCAP forum. I've went to every single one. We've had 4, and they've actually been every time has been different. No one time has been the same, but the parents should understand, why do you go to the LCAP? What's the importance? Why they don't talk about that at the schools? What's the reason for all this? And at the LCAP, they complain that a lot of people from the district don't come to those parent forums, and that would be nice to have more people from the district come to all the parent forums. I know it's extra hours, but we have to do extra hours to work, so you guys can too. Just saying. Because in this area, I know you might not know this, but in middle school, oftentimes for the parents, many of the parents, they celebrate that like that's their high school graduation, because they don't expect them to make it through high school. So they have a limo. I don't know if you've ever seen this at these local middle schools. They have a limo. They spend probably about $1,000 on their kid at that time. You guys aren't familiar with this if you come from other areas. And we go all out. So we need to train them and know that why is high school important? What is the importance of this? That's the problem. Should we be celebrating them finishing middle school? Is that really an accomplishment? I don't know. That's what we got to help them to understand. Is that an accomplishment? Why do we care if we graduate from high school? We can just do that later on and get our GED. What's the importance? So that was my little 2 cents. Let me see. Oh, that's what else. The goals of the superintendent. It'd be nice to know what the goals of the superintendent are going in, and not just on the board, but just kind of letting everybody know, being really transparent and making sure there's people that go back to different places. Because I know oftentimes our school is paid for teachers to do staff development and training, but they don't share that information. But holding people accountable for what they say they're going to do. So if I go to a training, make sure that I bring back that information, and not just to my 4 or 5 co-workers, that I actually share it with everybody, because everybody needs to feel like they went to the training. If you take me somewhere, everybody gonna know that I went. You're gonna be like, what is wrong with her? Because that's just how she is. Just, that was it. I think that was all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Cachet. All right. Oh, come on up, please. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jody. I am a product of LBUSD. I went to Barton, I went to Lindbergh, I came to Jordan, and after that, I went to Cal State Long Beach. So I think one thing that, now you might get mad at me, because I'm going to talk about outsiders now. But I am happy about the fact that they are opening up to outsiders, because I feel that sometimes certain bias can get perpetuated within the district. And I say that also coming out of my credential program as well. I saw blatant bias against Jordan. And it's something that I think we don't talk about. It's something that's known, but it's always something that's just kind of brushed to the side. And we like to put on this face of, no, we're equitable and we see everyone for who they are. But I think we need to kind of just lift that rug up, look at what we swept under it, and start working on it, and not let it just continue growing. For the qualities that I'd like to see in the next superintendent, I would like someone who has their eye on student service. I think we really need to understand that why we're all here is because there's students who need to be served. And so we need to keep our eye on that. The second thing I have is to be an active listener. Sometimes, I don't know, I've experienced it where you're talking to someone and they're listening to you, but it's kind of in one ear, out the other. There's no real true understanding that's put behind it. So we need someone who's an active listener. Someone who's equity-minded and actually thinks about the marginalized communities and how their decisions are impacting those communities as well. I would like someone who's empathetic. That isn't something that we're not all good at practicing. I think we sympathize more than we empathize. So I would like someone who's empathetic. Definitely someone who knows how to compromise. I think that's a true leader, is not someone who says, I want something done a certain way and I need you all to fall in line for it. We need someone who is open to other opinions and can compromise when needed. And with that, someone who truly understands teamwork. So I think, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. David mentioned that collaboration is key, and I think that's true. We need to feel that everyone is listened to and we came to a decision all together, not just one person kind of spearheading everything and saying this is what we're doing. For the strengths, I think we've had more graduates than we've had in the past, which is something definitely to brag about. We're a district who's willing to try new approaches. We're the trailblazers, and I do take pride in that for our district. And we expect a lot from our teachers in a way that is good. We do expect a lot of their time, and I think they need to be fairly compensated for that as well. Areas of improvement, I think as a whole, we can work on being more approachable. I think sometimes parents, community members, even students don't know how to approach the district. It's kind of this scary, big entity that we don't know how to approach. So if we would make it more approachable, that would be good. I think we also need to teach practical life skills to our students. So someone who has a mind on, yes, we want our students to achieve, and that may be going to a 4-year, going to a 2-year, going to a trade school, but we need to give them the skills that they need to just be productive in life after they're out of the K through 12 system. We need, an area of improvement is not treating certain schools as second-class citizens. So that does go to the fact that certain bias are perpetuated. So I think we need to just recognize that and work on it. Sometimes I feel like the district keeps things very hush-hush, and that's another area I think that we can improve on, is being more transparent, as my sister mentioned and others have mentioned as well. And what issues I see that we need to address or anticipate for the future, I come back to equity and what it actually means for our district. What does equity truly mean? I think when we think of equity, people have all these different variations of it, and we need to know what it means to our district, for our admin, for our staff, our faculty, and our students, and preparing our students for life after high school. And I think another parent brought this up, and I kind of want to piggyback on that, is we unknowingly perpetuate the cycle of socialization, and we need to break that cycle. We need to become the cycle of liberation. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Wow, continue to be so impressed. Thank you for that. And I want to be very respectful of your time, so I promised everyone that we would be out by 8 o'clock, and I want to keep that promise. So if there's anyone who has a burning desire to come up and speak, we have time for one more speaker. Come on up, Bernie.
Susan Garcia, I'm an employee with this district, and I truly enjoy working with it. When I first started with this district, and one of the things I really enjoyed was going to the coffees with Chris. And that allowed me to get to know the superintendent in a different way and have a conversation. And I like those forums. I think that's a positive, that was a strength. And I know he, with many other conflicts, is not able to have it, but I would like to recommend that for our new superintendent. We've had some excellent suggestions provided tonight, so I will not reiterate them. And I'll go into the items that I think we need to consider. Sometimes this district, we go on the forefront and trying different things, but sometimes we don't follow it through. We move on to the next thing and the next thing, and we have teachers trying multitude of items, and we're not really seeing what is it that truly works. Coming from a science background, scientific mind, I'm over here saying, but how can you assess what was the independent variable, the dependent variable? How can we truly assess what truly made the difference? And I know that we have the passion and the teachers and things like that here. We have a great crew of people that we work with. But what we need to do is sometimes isolate some items so we could truly figure out what is making the difference and what is not. We all know that socioeconomics is the biggest factor. Income inequality that's happening across this nation is the biggest deterrent to what's happening, and it's causing everything else that's happening. That we know. But how can we change that, and how can we look at this? I heard a young lady speaking about character. And I think about how we have lost, and I've heard also about parent training. I wasn't certain what that exactly was, but I think there is some way at a youthful age that we have parents get the training that they need to help guide them so that they can build a better child. And we, with our schools, be able, with our health curriculum, provide more of guidance so that these children are built up with not so much of a traumatic effect. We have students that have been trauma impacted through various things. We have parents that have been traumatized. And as a result, we have a cycle that's perpetuating on this. And we need to somehow figure out how to break this. And I think we can do it, because I believe in the cans. And I also think that we somehow need to integrate this through our health curriculum, because there's things that we always have. However, now having said that, our health curriculum should not be encroaching on 7th grade science. 7th grade science is taught for a semester in this district, and health is taught the 2nd semester. That is not wise. STEM is essential to the future of our youth. And to have science not taught for a full year in middle school because, oh, well, they'll get it in high school. No. It is critical at all aspects. In middle school is when we lose children, and we still need to bring them in. With our next generation science standards, there's a way that we could do that. So I would like that changed. This is something that we can readily fix, that we can look at, and I know it will cost something, but fiscal priorities are what we need to do and re-examine that. The next item that I'm looking at is one of our biggest concerns that we're facing is declining enrollment, gentrification of our neighborhoods, and the loss of a community that's happening. We as schools must figure out how we can make that community become one, and how we can deal with the loss of declining enrollment, because we're not going to have everyone. We have a different type of resident currently moving in. So as we examine how we're going to handle this, we also have to examine how we're handling our administrative offices. Are we also releasing people? Do we need all the weight that's there? Do we need our teachers? I would say we need every single one and more. I would say we need more counselors, psychologists to help out with these trauma-impacted individuals. Those are things that we need to be focusing on. I also would like to propose for our health to get it out of being an encroachment on 7th grade science, is to make it an elective that's not an elective. Take an elective slot and require that all 7th graders use it, and have ethnic studies as the next class. Because we also find through research that ethnic studies is what provides a student the sense of self, and this should be carried throughout, from K through on, where we know where our roots are, and we start learning about the roots of others and appreciating others and our differences, because the only way we succeed is if we work together. And I think that's how we can accomplish it. Otherwise, I truly enjoy working with this district, and I think we have only more to reach the stars. What can I say? Thank you.
So before I bring up or invite Ms. Kerr to come back up and share some closing thoughts, I just want to thank you again for being here tonight, and just give yourselves one more big round of applause, because you've taken us through for an hour and a half. We've heard some amazing things, so thank you very much. Have a safe journey home, and Ms. Kerr.
I'll be brief. You took a lot of it. I am so proud of Northtown. I know a lot of you either teach here, work in neighboring schools. Our residents here have kids here, have gone through here. This was such a robust conversation, the most robust so far, I would like to say. We have taken our almost full amount of time, and it's because you care deeply. And some of the things that I heard that sort of ran through this is that this is about relationships. We are a relationship-based district. We care deeply for each other. We don't always agree, and that's okay, because we still care deeply in the middle of that disagreement, because at the end of the day, we are working hard for not only student success, but for growing happy, healthy, well-rounded, good citizens from baby ages all the way through our transition age special education students at 22. So I want to thank you for being a part of us. I said it at the board meeting, Long Beach is Long Beach, and I know that to be true, and you are a great representation of that tonight. So thank you so much for coming out.